So it's Thursday, the 25th of May. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Frontier Opening Bell. This is how we get in today's trading session. The markets across Frontier Africa started here on the show, and you can see we got a bit of a decent Wednesday. The Nigerian market up by roughly 0.6%. Big gains we saw in the banking space, including Nestle Nigeria, which is the largest food maker by market cap, finishing more than 1,150 on the counter. So we got a very decent third trading session on the Nigerian market that took the year-to-date NGX index up roughly 4%. Can claw back some of those losses we saw in the first quarter of the year. The BRVM better by 11 basis points Wednesday. The Egyptian stock market came back roaring, roughly 2%. That's EGX 30. The Nairobi stock market still trying to claw its way back to the 100 psychological index level reading, better by 0.5% on Wednesday, while the GSE fell sharply 1.47%, lost to 76, lost 77, 78, and we're trying to see how the market will react to the interest rate decision by the South African Reserve Bank. We expect those decisions by the five-member Monetary Policy Committee on the SARB governor, later at about 3 o'clock South African time. Keep that in mind. Let's get on to look at the East African top stories, business headlines as we start the fourth trading day of the week. The IMF approving $1 billion in financing facility for Kenya's economy. That's something that President William Ruto solely can use that money. Safaricom has made plans to set up a smartphone factory. Well, that's going to be a different path from this huge, iconic company, telecommunication giant in East Africa and one of the largest on the African continent. But a smartphone factory? Let's get the details and see how it goes moving forward. MTN Uganda has endorsed about 5.5 shillings in dividend per share to shareholders, and that's quite some news that the shareholders of this company can use. MTN Uganda is listed on the stock exchange. Ethiopia is set to launch the tender for the third telecoms license in June. The first round saw the onboarding of Safaricom Ethiopia in the country and a few others, including Vodacom. Let's see who gets the third one with the Ethiotel, the country's original telecommunications companies doing business on the ground there to get a whole lot of foreign investors. It's part of the reforms that the Prime Minister Abiy's administration is doing in Addis Ababa, from telecoms to banking and the financial services sector. And finally, in East Africa, Haitian Jean-Philippe Prosper has been elected as the president of the Bank of Kigali in Rwanda. Congratulations to Jean. Okay, let's get on to the West Africa, where Nigeria's first quarter GDP report came in yesterday sluggish than the last quarter of last year. Fourth quarter 2022, that was 3.52%. The headline figure came in yesterday, 2.31%, much lower. The non-oil sector grew much slower. The oil sector is still in the water by 4.2%, despite Nigeria's total crude oil production ramping up to about 1.5 million barrels per day by the end of the first quarter and into April. Agriculture and services sector also went up. So sterling manufacturing was sluggish. Agriculture went into a nosedive, 0.5% negative, the first time in many, many years. And the latest African Economic Outlook report released yesterday in Sharm el-Sheikh, the annual meetings of the EFDB, focused a whole lot more on the urgent need to find private sector capital to fund Africa's multi-billion-dollar climate finance and green economy. The economic report also took a look at the GDP outlook for the continent for this year and next, and all that you can read up in the latest report. The annual meetings will be wrapping up tomorrow, Friday, in Egypt. Central Bank of Nigeria yesterday raised the country's key lending rate by 50 basis points to 18.5. That's the latest in the running chase of inflation by the central bank, looking to tame inflation, which was at 22.22% in the month of April. The decision to raise rates was in line with economists and market analyst consensus. In Ghana, gold and cocoa producers, its exports were up 15.9% and 30.3% respectively. Crude oil production out of the West African economy was, however, down 36.7% for the month of April. And Guinea-Bissau says it raised about 13.7 billion CFA from the West African financial markets. in terms of sale of treasuries to support the country's economy. Let's raise it. Take it down, raise up the Southern Africa's trading. Of course, inflation came in softer yesterday at 6.8%. Will that be enough reason for Leseja Kangango and his 5-member team at the MPC to hold interest rate? Well, consensus was that the SARB will raise interest rates, but let's keep our eyes open till 3 p.m. local time. Food inflation, our food prices also softened in the month of April on that review. And NAMPAC cuts his rice offer down from 2 billion rand to 1 billion rand. Now reports coming in early Thursday shows that NAMPAC suffered about 2.5 billion rand for his financial period, which is under review. The auto industry is looking to award tenders for electric vehicle charging stations in the month of June. That's coming out of South Africa. While VFX, which is the dollar-based Victoria Fall Stock Exchange, is set to list carbon credits as this government upends the trade. In the meantime, good news out of Sharm el-Sheikh as Japan and the Africa Finance Corporation are partnering for energy transition in the African continent. The AFC is headquartered in Lagos, but has got funding from around the world to support infrastructure and climate program on the continent as well. Some good news out of the ongoing week-long AFDB annual meetings. Let's sum it up. Of course, right there in North Africa, with the EFDB granting $345 million to Egypt to boost the country's access to Chinese bonds, while Morocco is partnering the AFC, which is the Africa Finance Corporation, to advance critical funding for local firms. And Tanger made port among top 4 companies with 193.48 points in the 2022 index. So a whole lot more in the market there in North Africa. You can go on our website to read up all the latest that we've got for you at www.frontierafricareports.com. And you can watch the show as well as all the other shows on YouTube, Frontier Africa Reports. And subscription is free. Please follow us also on all our social media footprints. We'd like to hear from you. Thanks for watching and see you soon.